welcome to Campus Conversations. We're really excited to be coming to you here in a different fashion with some new software. So we have some really new, exciting ways to communicate with you this semester, and we're working on some areas to grow and to further establish connections with you in this new virtual experience. We want to tell you too about the podcast Awe and Wonder that we have out on Spotify and on YouTube and on Podbean. But Spotify is the best way to download it. We're really excited about that, and we're going to have some weekly episodes there. Really great conversations. For today's Campus Conversations, we're really excited to invite Janelle Hill to the conversation. And we're going to call her in here. Hi, Janelle. How are you?
Hello.
Welcome to Campus Conversations.
I'm excited to be able to join you today, so thank you for inviting me.
Oh, thanks for saying yes. It's really excited to have you here. You are relatively new to the community, and you started off in a really interesting way, right in the middle, right as we were shutting down, you were opening your arms to St. Joseph. And what was that like? So welcome and hello. How was that experience?
So very interesting. I will say that I never thought that I would onboard during a pandemic. I did start in April, which was right after a lot of colleges and universities had shut down, even my previous institution. And so I was onboarding and coming on board when everyone was virtual. And so it was very interesting. I will say this, though, it has been great. It has been awesome. So many staff, faculty, everyone that I meet have been really welcoming. They've been really open arms and receiving me and letting me join the SJC community. I did get a little bit of a learning curve. So, being able to come in during remote and virtual did give me the opportunity to learn more about the institution, learn more about my area, our staff, being able to connect with the staff of Student Life in which I supervise. And so it's really been great. It's been different. I'm very used to, obviously, a lot of my background is student affairs. And so I'm so used to being so hands-on with students and working with students. And mainly for the first 4 months, I met almost 100% of the students that I did get to meet was virtual. And so that was a little bit of a transition for me. But now that I'm back on campus in the office, it is nice to have some limited, although it's not the same capacity, but to have some student contact. I did get a chance to work with some of the orientation leaders this summer and meet some of them, which was really nice because it was good and exciting to see students back on campus and get more of a campus feel.
Yeah, amen to that. I've been saying, I feel like I'll take students with masks over no students.
Yes.
If the masks are difficult, I'll take it. It's just nice to see people. And for those who don't know, what is your exact title? And what would you say is your role in student life? Because I think sometimes the students are like, they see us, but they don't know exactly what we do.
That's a great question. So my title is Associate Vice President for Student Life. Some of my major roles is that I supervise the area. So Student Life encompasses campus ministry, which I get to supervise this great individual right here. Student involvement, leadership, intercultural engagement is one of the offices. Counseling and wellness, the Wellness Center is another area, as well as career development and preparation. And so as their supervisors of the area, I really help each of them in supporting them in the goals of the areas and the goals of our student life. I also get to sit as a part of cabinet. So I report to the Vice President of Student Life, who is Janelle Hill. And so really being able to be a part of senior leadership, help with the college and the goals that the college foresees and where we want to go, as well as supporting our goals within student life and our students, really being a resource of support. I do student conduct as well. So if there's ever any issues on campus, students are concerned, I sit on a behavioral assessment committee as well. So helping with any students in need or possibly in crisis or things of that nature. So I work hand in hand with a lot of different areas, and I really feel like I'm a great collaborator. So, being able to build relationships and collaborations and support the students. So I'm here in O'Connor. I'm actually in N215. So yes, so students, so far I had a couple students stop by, which is nice. And so, we're still doing hybrid as well. So my schedule, I'm on campus 3 days a week, but then remote the other days. But I'm really available, and students can always feel free to contact me. So whether that's via email, via phone, my information's in the directory as well as on the website. And like I mentioned, I am located in O'Connor.
I'm really grateful for the thoroughness of that answer, because I think a lot of times with students, they don't really like, and how would they know? But they don't really know how student life works, and they might just see an event and say, "Oh, this is great. I'm glad the college is doing it." But there's a lot of muscles behind moving the system. And I remember there was a moment in your interview process where we got to all come and listen to you speak and ask questions. And a question came up about, well, why did you want to be involved in student life? What moment in your life made you? And I thought about it too. I was like, yeah, who goes to college and says, I want to work in student life, right? So where did you go to college? What did you study? And then what made your heart fall in love with student life? Yeah.
So I love that question. That's actually one of my questions I tend to ask my staff too, because I think we all have purpose, right? We all have a why. Like, what is our purpose? Why are we here? Why do we do what we do? Why do we love what we love? And so for me, so I went to a small liberal arts college in Rochester, New York. It's actually Nazareth College. And so my first year experience was typical of not the best, right? And so I was a freshman. I moved away from, it was my first time away from home. I had a little bit of being homesick. It was a transition for me because I was from New York City and then going upstate New York, which is a completely different culture. I had a little bit of culture shock. And so I struggled. I struggle academically. I'm not afraid to say that. I think that, sometimes we think about the college experience and we always celebrate what's so great about it. But that freshman year was tough for me. I remember, I'll never forget, I called my mother and I was really upset. And I was like, I don't think I could do this. And she was like, it's okay. It's okay. You could come home. And that was like, oh no. I was like, I didn't know, no, that's not the option that we want right now. And what really turned my freshman year and really my whole college experience around was getting involved. So I went to a residential campus. So I did live in a residence hall. And I joined the residential staff. So I first started off becoming a peer mentor. So I was just a peer on a freshman floor and really just there to help them and guide them. Then I became an RA. So I was a resident assistant. And really what an RA does is just help the floor. So I used to do events and programs, and I started getting involved in clubs. I was vice president of 2 or 3 clubs. I was the student that overextended themselves at one point. So my junior year, I remember thinking, what am I doing? I changed my major. So that's another thing we don't always.
Also, I was going to ask, what did you go in with a major as, and how did that?
Yes. So I am that typical, all things go wrong your freshman year in college. I was that poster child. So I went in thinking, you're 17, 18, going to college. I was like, oh, I'm going to be a physical therapist. Like, I know that's the career path. I want to work in athletics. That's what I thought. So I figured I could be an athletic trainer, do a physical therapy. So I got accepted into a program that was was actually a 6 or 7 year master's to doctoral program, which is a great program for physical therapy. It just wasn't for me. And so my freshman year, I struggled, and I did it for some of the wrong reasons: family influence, not really sure what I wanted to do, thought I liked science, and then realized when I had to cut up a cat and then had cadaver, I was like, no, I do not like this part of science. I don't like anatomy and physiology. And so I ended up changing my major to business administration, primarily because I still thought I wanted to work in athletics. And so I did business administration with a concentration in sports management. And actually, right after college, went back and got my master's in sports management as well. So that's a fun fact about me. In my early career, I thought I was going to be an athletic director one day and oversee athletics. But I shifted after falling in love with student affairs and falling in love with student life. And it really happened because I was an RA, because I was vice president of these different clubs and organizations, and my student involvement. And so I always say I want to be the person. So I had a lot of mentors. I had a lot of people that helped guide me along the way during my college career, and kind of shifted and pointed me in different directions. And I think that without them, I wouldn't be where I am today. And so I'm always wanting to be a part of the student development process because I know what it meant so much for me and what it was able to give me.
I think it's so exciting to talk to people that have changes in their careers, especially in their college career. Because something I love to talk to students about is that, remember, you have to follow your heart, do well in school, but if you're feeling that something's not for you, it's okay. And I think a lot of them feel this pressure that if I started to become a teacher, I had to become a teacher and I had to do this. And so I love hearing stories like this because I got a business degree originally, and now I'm in ministry. And anytime I tell people that, they're like, what? It's like, everything happens for a reason.
And you're absolutely right. I think that we all can succumb to outside pressures. I mean, mine was my family. I think that, there's just so many things we're juggling, and it's okay to change course, right?
Yep.
Even at this stage in my career, we all have different life experiences, and that's what makes us so great and dynamic. And those life experiences then shape what you want to do. And so I think that as students, it's important for them to always recognize that they have the power to shift when they choose to.
What's your favorite sport and who's your favorite athlete?
So that's a great question because I'm a diehard. I used to play basketball, so basketball was my favorite sport, and I'm a diehard Knicks fan. However, I'm a diehard like '90s Knicks fan. New basketball, I still follow, but the Knicks
Okay.
are very disappointing at times. So it's very hard to be a Knicks fan during this era. All-time favorite player would probably be Patrick Ewing, although I probably get a lot of slack about even saying that. I am not a Michael Jordan fan, although I will acknowledge that he is one of the greatest players of all times. But I tend to always root for the underdog in
Okay.
sports generally. So even now, LeBron James, everybody loves him. Great player, great athlete. Uh, you know,
I support you on that. I agree. I think the underdog. Uh, it doesn't have to be the underdog so much. I like the subtle dog.
yes.
Like the one who's just like kind of no, but being a Knicks fan, yeah, it's
It's heartbreaking. Every season is heartbreaking. We haven't really been on a winning streak since maybe 2000s. Like it's been a little while.
I'm
So
not a basketball follower, so I'm not really, but I do feel like every now and then when I do check in, I
mhm.
have to like call my basketball friend and say, "Is that a real storyline? Did that really just happen? Is that
Yes.
possible? I didn't know that was possible." Okay, all right, that's funny. Yeah, I appreciate your honesty too about the Michael Jordan. I think a lot of things I'm learning about you here is that you're not afraid to go your own way and say, all right, some people might think I should do this or do that or this, but my heart is my heart and it's going to take me somewhere. I think that's really awesome to hear. And it's good for our students to be reminded of that too. We don't always have to go with the crowd.
Mhm.
We can respect the crowd and
Right.
what people value, but we can still like Patrick Ewing.
Yes.
And that's a-okay. So you went for sports management, you have this sports background. Have you found that in your career the sports aspect of it is still a huge role? Because I personally think sports references and the leadership style is everywhere. Do you see that?
Yes. So I would say, especially early on in my career, because I used to get asked that question on interviews. So
Mm.
I stayed in student affairs pretty much right out of undergrad. So even my first job right after undergrad was a residence hall director, which pretty much I supervised the entire residence hall of freshman students. And at the time, a lot of times, when you work for a college or university, they help supplement your master's. So at the same time as working for the
Okay.
school, I was getting my master's in sports management. So after, I always thought I would leave student affairs, leave student life, and then go into athletics. And I just fell in love and then didn't leave. And so when I would interview, people were like, oh, I see you have like a master's in sports management. And I'm like, yeah, I do. And they're like, okay, well, tell us a little bit about that. And, how does that relate? And honestly, one, sports is all about people, right? And working with people and being able to manage teams and being able to have teamwork and shared goals and accomplishing those goals. And administratively, business of sports is very similar to business of anything else. And so a lot of the courses that I took were business like courses. And so all of it was adaptable. And I'm a big proponent for transferable skills. And so being able to use your college experience and learn the skills that you were able to gain and then being able to express that will always go 100 miles in interviewing and job searching because even if you're an SGA leader or you're a club leader or you're in a club, if you can say I ran a meeting, right, I was able to delegate, I was able to present, or I have good presentation skills. All of those skills mean something out there in whatever field that you're going to. And so you can translate it, you can transfer them, and you just want to be able to express them and be able to say, here's all the skills I was able to gain, even critical thinking, all event planning, all the events that you plan. There's just so many aspects of being involved and being engaged that you can always take with you.
Yeah, and I think the sports, and I'm not even that big of a sports person as much as it's sounding like this is a big, but I totally agree. I think it's really transferable. You'll get a kick out of this. I wrote my undergrad thesis on John Wooden. And I don't like basketball, never, but like for some reason, his leadership moved me.
Um,
One of his books moved me so much that, but it just shows how things can really surprise you in all different ways. And if you open yourself up, and what we tell our students all the time, open yourself up to different experiences, you'll be shocked by what will have an impact on you. And you can find yourself saying, wow, I never thought that I would ever be part of this, or I never thought I would go to that. And now that's something I can't live without, which is pretty
it's
cool.
so funny that you say that because one of the year, I think I mentioned junior year, I was involved in so many different clubs. I wouldn't have guessed my freshman year that at least one of the clubs, because I was a part of a peer health like mentoring club, and
Mhm.
I would have never. I mean, I didn't have that much interest in like health and health promotions, and I even went on a conference with them. It was one of the best times of my life, but it wasn't something that it would have been. I would have picked, especially at that point in my life, and so and then even some of the friends that I made, they were different. They were outside of my circle, of my normal circle of friends. But that's one part, even to this day, whenever I meet other peer health mentors or educators, I'm like, yeah,
Yeah.
like there's a connection there. But I stepped outside of my comfort zone and joined the club that I probably wouldn't have normally.
So something that's become like a tradition, I don't even know if I call it a tradition, but something that we ask guests on the show a lot are, what hobbies do you have, if you have any? Did anything come up during the quarantine where you like, discovered that you're an amazing knitter?
I don't really have hobbies. I will say I have been walking a lot during this quarantine. So I had two small children. That's another fun fact about me. So I have a 4-year-old and a 1.5-year-old. They keep me on my toes.
And that's your answer right there. That's it.
Yes,
Yeah.
those are my hobbies right
Yeah.
now. But they were, because we were quarantined and they were trapped inside and they have so much energy and they're bowls of energy. Me and my husband, we would just take 1 mile or 2 mile walks with them just to get them out the house, have fresh air. And it actually now has been something of a ritual for us to do as a family. And so the days that we don't get to do it, I kind of miss it. And even my son, he's like, oh, we're not taking a walk today. So as long as the weather keeps permitting, we'll probably keep taking our walks through the neighborhood. So
That's awesome. See, that's a great opportunity of making a positive out of this situation, finding ways that we can.
if nothing else I've learned through this whole quarantine is that we just have to be able to give ourselves a little leeway, have a little more grace than we normally would have, and be able to forgive ourselves. We're going to make mistakes. Like, no one's going to be perfect. There's just so much that we're all dealing with. This is new to all of us. Even as an institution, we're doing as much planning as we can, but there may be some hiccups. There may be some bumps in the road. And so when we have those, just being flexible and adaptable and being able to forgive ourselves when we make mistakes, because it's just going to happen.
Yeah, amen. You kind of just answered my last question, but I'll still ask it. See, what is something you would like to leave the students with, a word of hope or joy, possibly as they go through this semester?
So just to piggyback off what I said, just, really use this time to use it for the positive, right? Don't focus so much on negative. Try to reflect when you can reflect. Try to take time for yourself when you can take time for yourself. Use all the opportunities that might be involved around on campus to get involved. When you need help, ask for help, seek help. We're all here. I think the one thing I've learned over these past couple of months is SJC is a community. And so the staff and faculty are all so willing to help students and be able to be there for them. And so, we know that it's hard and we know that it's challenging and we won't sugarcoat that. But at the same time, we want you guys all to succeed this semester, have a great semester, and we really want you to thrive. So we're here, our staff is here, student life is here, the whole community is here. So I hope that this semester goes well. And we're just excited to be back in some shape or form. And so.
Totally. Thank you so much, Janelle. Thank you for taking the time to chat. I know you're very busy, and I appreciate it and the very kind words. So that's it for us today for Campus Conversations. Appreciate you joining us, and we'll see you next week. All right.